But first, let's go to another building almost lost in time. It's hidden in Beeston on the outskirts of Leeds. Stranded amidst the urban sprawl of road, railway line and housing estate is an unlikely survivor from a very distant past.
But look at it here. You don't expect to see a sign saying English heritage. Yet here we are. We're coming in, and we're further along this track. I'm hoping to see a medieval barn.
They call this Stank Hall Barn. Hardly an enticing name, but that hasn't deterred its local fan club.
Of all the places I've been to, this frankly looks the most dilapidated and the hardest one to attract people, I would have thought.
It's been shut for 20-odd years, no one's been inside it. That's why it's just so remarkable.
Yeah.
That's why we just love it and want more people to enjoy it.
OK, right, so it's a hidden gem. You're going to show it to me?
From the outside, it's hard to see what all the excitement's about. But with a torch and some imagination, it's a revelation.
Oh, that's terrific, isn't it? Gosh, that really is something.
Oh, it's like a cathedral. Yeah. It's gorgeous.
The barn was built in the 15th century by the Beeston family, who gave their name to this part of Leeds.
Why do they need a barn as big as this?
Well, it looks huge to us, but when you're thinking about several farms running really quite a large estate, it's what you need to keep all of your crops and grain in.
These lovely constructions, aren't they?
A lot of dosh went into it. This wasn't just like 10 of the local lads throwing up a timber frame from local wood. It was quite a moneyed build.
Now this looks a bit...
The barn was used as a farm building until the 1960s. It's owned by the city council. They restored the woodwork in the 80s and planned to convert it into a restaurant. But the scheme fell through and the building began to decay again.
But this is leaning over badly, isn't it?
So is the Tower of Pizza, but you wouldn't worry about that, John, now, would you?
They're all right.
They're all absolutely fine. English Heritage keep a very weather eye on this building.
Yeah. It's great with a place like this to be here for some time, because if you just walk in and say, oh yeah, it's an old barn, you don't get it. But if you stay here, it gets to you. It's just a tremendous place to be for some time, and you feel the weight of history.
I'm getting quite emotional, but I'm still a bit worried by the name.
Why was it called Stank Hall Barn? The stink? I mean, was there a reference to that?
Stank is a reference to the fact that a local term which meant that the ground was wet, marshy, boggy.
Right. So when we think of something that stank, that sounds not very pleasant. But for them, that was okay.
Yeah,
they wouldn't mind it being called Stank Hall Farm.
Yes, no, they wouldn't mind. It was just a descriptive term. It was muddy, marshy, boggy ground.
But there's a lot of history here which you think's just got to be preserved.
I think it is, yes. The barn was built probably shortly before Columbus was crossing the sea to America, so that puts it into context, doesn't it?
It's hard to thrill to the history when it's boarded up like this. But for the council, this is the way to preserve the site while plans are made.
This is the hard face of conservation. At this point, we're trying to keep the building safe and secure, and then, hopefully, find a new use that will sustain it.
Right, so you can put bits of metal in?
Yeah.
What have you done on the roof?
Well, we've put tin sheeting on the roof to keep the rain out.
And is it going to cost millions of pounds? Is that what's going to happen?
It will cost millions of pounds, yes.
It will cost?
It will have a big bill, yes.
Yeah. So
but if we get the right use, we can pay for it. And the washing machine...
It's not simply a question of saving the barn. Across the lane are the remains of the historic hall where the owners once lived. Restoring all these buildings will be hugely expensive. But in the meantime, at least the garden can be sorted out.
We thought one of the first things that a lot of the community asked for was like an allotment space.
Oh, right.
Because this is kind of a nice enclosed area.
So would the whole of
this could make a really beautiful space.
Right.
We're basing it on a medieval design of a potager, which was done from 12th to 14th century and then developed into the knot garden.
You're certainly selling it to me. Goodness
That's good.
me.
Do you want to come and give us a hand?
Well, I don't know.
I'm
I'm in a state of excitement already.
Really?
Well, I don't know. I could do with you in my garden.
I love the enthusiasm I found here. It just shows you should never give up on an old building like this. It really is irreplaceable.
When I came here this morning, I thought this is not going to be possible. But after the people I've met and their enthusiasm, I just think it's going to be terrific. Stank Hall Barn, I'm not sure about the name, but this place, it can really flourish.